Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to the Laura 15 show. Today is a beautiful afternoon, and we're going to continue with the second episode of the journey that Mark went through when he decided to live his dream in life and kind of to pursue these opportunities. So, Mark, my love, sweet heart, what can you tell us about?
Okay, I'm gonna try my best to remember where we left off so I can continue. I believe we were talking about my experiences with Corporate English Association. And overall, again, I'm not gonna say I have nothing bad to say about my time in the company other than the way it ended. They were they were a little, I guess, offended by our exit, but we learned a lot. I learned a lot there. Um, I learned, again, I was never a teacher at that point. I'd never been a teacher before I got hired on there. I had a certification. I had a little bit of experience because they give you a little bit of experience when you get your
Yes.
certification. They used to, when I was in Puerto Vallarta, getting my certification, they would, for like the last 2 weeks of the class, we were scheduled to go do some teaching. They would take us to this local orphanage where we would go there and we would teach them English. And that was a lot of fun because these kids were awesome. And they seemed to like us. We liked them. And it was a lot of fun. But anyway.
So the kids enjoy a lot your visit there. I'm
Yeah, I
pretty
think
sure.
they did, because I think, in a lot of ways, I don't know much about, obviously, luckily for me, I never didn't grow up in an orphanage, but a lot of these kids probably it's the most attention they get throughout the day, personal
Yes.
attention anyway. So it was fun. The classes were small, you know, five, five, six people, five, six little kids. And we had a good time. They were all smart kids with, good personalities and like to have fun, act like kids. And but anyway, when I got to that was about the all the experience I had before working at Corporate English. So my time at Corporate English was a big learning experience. I learned a lot about being a teacher. Um, they had a set way of teaching. We had a book to follow. You pretty much just kind of follow the book, and you could be kind of creative with it, but I never really figured out how to be creative with the content so much. So anyway, there came a time where my wife and I decided to start our own business, start our own English Academy, and hence that is probably why they didn't weren't so happy with us when we left the company.
But for example, here I want to clarify something that maybe it's going to be very important to say. Because some people may think that, oh, no, it's because they stole the business. We didn't steal any business.
Right.
Because sorry, my love, I need to
That's
say
okay.
it. I was human resources in the company for close to 4 years, maybe five. To be honest, I don't remember very well. But for example, something that in my time as human resources, previously I have had a lot of experience in training. I worked in different companies training people. Also, I was in charge of Salmina, there is an electronic company in Mexico, and I was in charge of the department of training. They were training operations, they were training any kind of people, any kind of position inside the company. So I had this experience. But sadly, you can notice that my English needs to work a lot. And I have worked my English for a long time. But for example, something good ideas that I thought that they could implement and ideas that Mark and I discussed because he was teaching there and there were a lot of opportunities areas in the company. They didn't want to implement them because for them it's like how my English was bad, well, wasn't as good as they were expecting. I didn't have the skills according to them to propose anything to improve the company. And how Mark was a new teacher and also he was a foreigner teacher, this is the way that we call them foreigner teachers. He was coming from another country. They didn't want him proposing. So the company was kind of closed. And we thought, well, these are good ideas. So we wanted to lift the challenge, to challenge ourselves and in a way to show ourselves that these things really were gonna work. That's the reason for the one that we started the business, but we didn't steal any idea and we didn't steal any business. Just to
No.
clarify that.
I'm just like, no, yeah, well, some of the things that happened, obviously when we left is they thought we would, well, Patty had a couple of accounts. Laura here had a couple of accounts. And one of them decided to come with us. It was her account. She brought the account to Corporate English. So obviously she offered the woman, hey, I'm going to start my own company. If you want to come along with us, that'd be great. If not, that's okay. They decided to come along with us. Just the one. You know, she had other accounts that did not. Okay.
But, sorry.
Go ahead.
But also, for example, something that happened in the company is that, and we're not talking about, we're talking about facts, is that the other account that didn't want to that didn't follow us, they didn't continue with the company. Because sadly, and it's something that I have told Mark, I think that he doesn't care too much about this, but the company for the one we were working weren't supplying the account that I had. Almost all work I was doing it by myself and with Mark's help. But if a teacher wasn't able to attend the class, I have to look for my own teachers to cover the class. And the most of the time was Mark or some teachers that were close friends to me because the company didn't want to send anyone, or the ones that they wanted to send, they were very bad teachers. So just to clarify my love, because I don't want people thinking.
No. Again, I'm sure I was going to get to that. And the fact is, okay, you know, she actually had one of her accounts decided to come with us. Now, of course, Corporate English was not too happy. They accused us of stealing their clients, but I'm like, well, not really. It was her client. She took them with us, right? And it's just like when a football coach leaves for another team and he might take some of his assistants with him, you know, hey, that's nobody, there was no stiff arming and anything like that. They could have said no if they wanted. But anyway, so we at least we had one client to start with, right? And we started out working with somebody that we had both knew from actually my time in Puerto Vallarta, which was Vallarta International Academy was the name of the company. They have their own school in Puerto Vallarta, and the owner of that company was looking to expand in Guadalajara.
Exactly.
And since we were in Guadalajara, we went and talked to him one day, and he jumped right in and said, all right, let's do this. And unfortunately, it didn't quite, you know, the Vallarta International Academy in Guadalajara didn't quite take off like we thought it would. And we ended up having to basically go our separate ways, and we continued on with our own, which was Language Adventure Institute.
No, I want to make another comment. Okay. Here, for example, we start talking about opportunities here in these episodes, and we are focusing everything about opportunities. For example, going back in the work that Mark was performing at Corporate English Association, and that I was working there as human resources, we saw a lot of opportunities that the company had to grow up, to increase its profit, to increase its clients. However, they didn't want, it was a very close mind that they didn't want to take these opportunities. So we saw the way to take these opportunities, and we did it. It's what we did. It was tough. Yes, it was tough. It was a challenge. Yes, it was, because we're going by ourselves to something. It wasn't totally new for us, but it was new in the way that we were going to be responsible for getting our own money, because obviously at corporate I had a salary, and Mark had a salary and hourly rate too. So now going by our own, we had to create our own clients. We had to create our own money and everything. We weren't going to have this salary anymore. So, well, he's going to tell you the rest. When we went to Vallarta International Academy working for this company, as partners in Guadalajara, it didn't work well either. Because something that we have noticed, when you pursue opportunities in life, you have to take care that these opportunities match with the set of values that you have. And even though that Vallarta International Academy has a lot of these values, some of them weren't the same. So when we we started with good faith with this company. They said with good faith with us, but for some reason, in a moment of the journey, the values were the same. So we continue working despite of. But if you don't take a decision, we used to say we like to say that sometimes life is gonna take the decision for you. For you. So this is what happened. So we didn't take the opportunity to live on time. It wasn't too long, but well, we didn't take the opportunity to live on time. And suddenly one day at night, trying to check our emails to continue working. We realized that we didn't have access to our emails anymore, and all the databases that we have from the companies that we were meeting to show the class and to get them as a clients, we didn't access to this information anymore. But we were kind of prepared ahead to this, and it was the moment that Lego's Adventure Academy was for.
Yeah. Well, okay, where were we?
Moment that
Okay.
Lego's Adventure.
So anyway, everything, things didn't work out with the first ones with Vallarta International Academy. So we went out on our own and decided, and which is probably what we should have done to begin with, as Laura had said, there were when you go into a partnership, there's always promises made and commitments made, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes everybody falls a little short, or for whatever reason, and what's important to one side is not necessarily a top priority for the other side. So again, we probably should have just went on our own to begin with, and it certainly would have been much easier because we could have spent a lot less money.
Yeah, definitely, especially.
But that's okay. We learned, as Laura said, we basically we didn't waste the money. We
invested
spent it on an education. We learned a lot. We learned a whole lot.
It was an intensive training for us.
Exactly.
And we had to pay the money for the training.
And we did everything we had to do to keep things going. I mean, for instance, when we needed, there was a time when we needed money. Vallarta International Academy basically demanded us that we have an office and 3 classrooms, and we really only needed one, right? An office and 1 classroom. So, but anyway, we got the 3 classrooms. Turns out that was way more than we needed. We never used more than one at a time. I think one day we used 2 at a time, and that was it.
And it was the time that we were living in the office.
Yeah. So anyway, to pay for these 3 classrooms and an office, we ended up putting our apartment on Airbnb and sleeping in the office for 2 months, which was
3 months.
Was it 3 months? Okay. Maybe it was 3 months, but it was that was his own adventure, and I still think of some of how fun that was in its own way, even though we were sleeping on the floor. And but we did what we had to do to keep going. Oddly enough, the putting our apartment on Airbnb ended up being very successful. So successful that we were able to, with the money we made off putting the apartment on Airbnb, we were able to pay for that and another apartment. So we were able to get another apartment. That way we weren't sleeping in the office anymore.
But here, can I mention the facts, some of the facts? Well, I'm gonna mention them.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much for the no, for example, when we were sleeping in the office was crazy because, for example, well, you know that when you're sleeping in a place, obviously we're humans, we have some smells. And the office was opening at 8 a.m. So we had to get up like 6, 7 a.m. And because they have a carpet, it was a very, very nasty carpet, but we were renting the place, no? So we were putting it's like a blanket, but how can you call it? It's a white blanket. So we were putting this
Oh, the mattress pad.
A mattress pad. We were putting 2 on the floor. We were sleeping there. In the morning, we're waking up at 7 a.m., getting everything, putting the fan in a corner, a fan that we had, to make the air through the door because the room or the classroom where we were sleeping didn't have, just have a door, and the windows were inside the office. They didn't have an outside. So we had to put the fan to throw all the smells out. And obviously, for example, sometimes when people arrive there, I remember when they were preparing to sleep, we had to turn off the lights and everything, and suddenly we listened to a sound. Immediately we were cut for the blankets, and turn on the light and sit down like we were working the computers, because we didn't want people knowing that we were living there. Later we had the opportunity to hire a couple of teachers, and we were showing the classrooms, the office, to one of them, and he said, "Oh, guys, you have all your stuff here." Before we got the other apartment, the second apartment, so it looks like you live here, and we were like, living here? I know, come on. How do you think that? No, no, this is impossible. No. We just bring this stuff because we don't have space in the house, but we're planning to do this. No, no, no. How do you dare to say that? So we're kind of embarrassed because obviously we're sleeping there. Because another thing, for example, to take a shower, we were doing this very early in the morning or very late at night or on weekends, and it was with cold water, sometimes in winter because it was kind of in winter, and with a bucket, cold water, and marking the patio like one, and oh my god, drink quick, no? Another thing is that for doing laundry, because we were so broke economically at this point, that I, instead of taking the clothes to the laundry store, to the laundry place, I was washing the clothes there with my own hands on the patio. And to dry the clothes, it's like it was a total crazy experience. Another thing is that for eating, we were going to there's a store that is kind of a Kroger or Myers, kind of these stores, a supermarket. We went to buy um, 3 pieces, well, two pieces of 3 pesos, 3 pesos piece of bread with 1.5 little box of milk. This was a breakfast. For Natalie breakfast, I think that we were investing more in Natalie's breakfast for the school than what we were eating. Our meal was to buy a can of chicken, like 10 tortillas, one tomato, one onion, and make tacos. With the same kind, we were making six tacos, three for Mark, three for me, and dividing the onion and the tomato in the 6 tacos. It was our lunch. On weekends, Saturdays, we usually receive some payments. We were like waiting to 2 p.m. Oh my God, at what time these guys are gonna come to pay? Because they were paying like, so some of them were paying every week, and they were paying like 150 pesos in total, no? We spent 150 pesos, 120 pesos to buy a chicken in a very close store, buy a chicken with some salad, with some tacos, fried tacos, with some of these things. It was our reward for the week. So it's a totally different experience. It was kind of was difficult these 2 months. Were difficult these 2 months, but were worth it.
But it was in its own little way. It was fun and adventurous. So.
Yes, I think that when you're pursuing opportunity, when you're looking to get opportunities in life, as we said, they are tough and they challenge yourself to be out of your comfort zone. Maybe because I'm Mexican, I'm very happy to do a lot of things. Well, Mark too, because he's a Marine. But I think that he never expected to live this kind of experience in Mexico when he decided to go there. I don't know.
No, I never thought it'd be of that, but it's okay. Like I said, when you're when you're going through an adventure, the good parts and the bad parts are all part of the adventure, and you can't, it's not an adventure without both, right? You know, you watch any adventure documentary, there's always something bad that happens that makes it a little more fun, kind of adds a little to the stakes, just makes it a little bit more of an adventure than it would be with everything just went according to plan. So, and that was neat. Besides, after what, 3 months, again, we were able, because of the B&B, our apartment being on Airbnb, we were able to make enough money to get another apartment. And so now we didn't have to sleep in the office anymore. And also, well, we still slept on the floor, but at least we had a place to sleep and a place to
Take
shower
a shower.
and do laundry. We didn't have to, showering on the patio with a bucket of water. We didn't have to do that anymore. That was kind of nice.
Yeah.
But and plus things start, some of the clients that we had been trying to get started to pay off. Slowly but surely we started to get some of the clients on board, and some of them, again, right before, after a while, it was just starting to, the business was just starting to get rolling. I remember I used to always tell her every time something happened good, I'd say, okay, and the ball's rolling a little faster, and the ball's rolling a little faster or a little further, whatever. That was
We
just
got
my,
like five more clients by this time.
so,
And
but anyway, yeah, things were just starting to roll where we were, to the point where we weren't always looking for, looking under the couch cushions for money anymore. It was okay, this is good. When COVID hit, this
yeah,
was a problem, obviously for everybody, but especially for a new business where again things were just starting to get rolling, and all of a sudden, a lot of these clients, all but one actually, I believe, lost their budget for English classes. So now we're like, well, what are we gonna do? Okay, we didn't want to give up. We're not. Again, I don't want to sound like some hero, but
I'm not a hero.
I'm not wired like that. She's not either. I'm not gonna go down. I'm gonna go down fighting. So I was like, all right, well, we're gonna do what we have to do to try to keep it rolling. So at that point, we came up with this neat idea. Well, hey, we could go to these local farmers markets and sell something, right? And we decided we were going to sell cleaning products. You can sell dishwasher or dish detergent. You can sell laundry detergent. You can sell household cleaners, uh,
Mops, brooms.
mops, brooms. I can't remember some of the other things. Rags, rags to wipe things down, Windex, all that kind of stuff. We were deciding, well, hey, let's do that. So she knew where to get all the supplies, and she knew where to get the best prices on them. So we went and did it. And I remember we'd go to these markets and we'd set everything up. And I would always decide, okay, now that everything's set up, I would go walk through the market, and I wanted to see how much competition we had and how well this was going to go. And usually there was only one or two other people selling cleaning products that we were selling. And so at that point, I was like, I think we picked a good thing to do, because it's not like most of these farmers markets, people are selling fruit, they're selling fish, they're selling some sort of food. How anybody managed to make a living selling the fruit, because it's like every other stand is a fruit stand. Probably three out of every four is a fruit stand. But the one we chose, the cleaning products, it was, again, it's probably a good quarter mile, sometimes a half mile long, this farmers market, and we'd be one of two or three people, two or three booths selling cleaning products. So I was like, okay, this is good. And we always decided to set up near the beginning, so we'd be one of the first ones.
No, another thing that is important to mention here is that we can give back with business of English classes. So something that we started doing is like we left the house at 6 a.m. in the morning or sometimes before, put everything into the car, drive to the market, set up the stand, sell there maybe to 1 p.m. at or sometimes to do until 2 p.m. At 2 p.m. we take everything down, went back home. Arriving home, we prepare something very quick for eating, and at 4 p.m. we had or English classes. So we start teaching online. So it's another thing that we did. How we weren't able to continue teaching face to face, like in presence, face to face classes, we start teaching online. So we didn't give up the business. We transformed the classes with the client or the client, because we still had two clients. So we continue teaching the classes, but we diversified our business portfolio and did other things that keep us sane during COVID.
Yeah, in fact, there was one day when we were at one of the markets at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I had to take my computer and put it in the car, and I go
Looking
get
for
it up.
sign.
Yeah, and I had a class, so I had to go kind of go off to the side and try to give this class. Of course, there wasn't, and I hope I could come up with a internet signal to have this class. I don't remember if it worked or not, but
Didn't work well.
we tried. But she's right, yeah. And so we were getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, packing, loading up the car, and then trying to get there by 6:30, because the earlier you get there, the better spot you can set up with on these markets. And there's always people trying to get there before you, right? And in fact, one time a guy tried to lie to us and told us, "No, this is my spot. I paid for it." Because you can actually make a monetary deposit and have a specific spot set up, that is reserved for you. And this guy told us, "No, that's my spot. You can't take it." So we moved, only to find out right after we started moving the stuff that that wasn't his spot. He didn't pay for it. He just decided to tell us that. The guy who was, I guess, one of the managers of the actual market told him, says, "Why did you tell him that? That's not your spot." And he said, "Well, they're a competitor." He turns out he was also selling cleaning products, but
At the end, he moved away, and we got back the spot.
yeah, we gave up the spot that day, but then we just started getting. At least we knew next time if we got there before him, we could set up there. And if we didn't, and he set up there, well, that's okay. We just moved across the street and basically set up there right across the street. So we were basically in the same spot, just across the street. And but it was fun. These markets are a lot of fun. I remember uh, helicopters flying over with people with megaphones trying to get people to go home. They're like, "Hey, it's COVID. You need to go home," which is funny. In Mexico, nobody cared. They're like, "Yeah, get out of here. We're gonna do what we want."
Yes, we have another thing. We have different mindset about these things, and we're very hard to convince. So, but we're going to talk about this in a different episode.
Okay, no.
Well, here very important is because, for example, when we opened the Airbnb, we have a friend now. He's our friend, Edgar. Edgar, he's American too. So the good thing because our Airbnb was in a very good spot in Guadalajara. Guadalajara is a beautiful city. You have to visit Guadalajara one day you have opportunity. But well, he decided to go to live to Mexico, and he decided that he wanted to live in Guadalajara. But in order to take that decision, he first rented an Airbnb, and he decided that or Airbnb it was what he was looking for. So he rented the Airbnb, I think that the first time for 1 month and a half, over 3 months, I don't remember.
2 months.
2 months.
Yeah.
So we were really happy because the other guests that we were having was like 2 days, 3 days. The Airbnb was always booked, but Edgar was the first client that was booking for 2 months. So we thought, thanks God, because we don't need to worry these 2 months for the Airbnb. Just once in a while go to clean. The irony of life, no? So it turns out that the day that he arrived to the apartment, we decided after that they arrived, we received the payment. So with the payment, because it was a big payment for us, because you receive almost everything together. So we decided, okay, we need to celebrate. We need to treat ourselves. So we went to eat finally to a Chinese restaurant in a mall, a very nice mall there in Guadalajara. So we went, but by this time, how we're struggling with money before, I wasn't paying my cell phone, so we didn't have a way to communicate with. No, one had a way to communicate with ourselves unless we were at home, kind of, or in the office. So Edgar was trying to contact us because but by this time in the apartment, I was paying one of my neighbors like $50, 50 pesos a month to have the internet access. But we decided to put the internet in the Airbnb because we wanted to make this more professional. So it's supposed that the company for the internet was gonna arrive to set up everything on Monday, but they decided to show up on Saturday, the day that we were enjoying the time. So they show up and Edgar said, "Oh yes, you can come in and start installing the internet." So the pipes in the Airbnb were all, and we didn't know that. So when the guy started how to say, making holes in the wall to go to for the cable for the internet, he broke a pipe and all the water started coming out. So Edgar was trying to contact us to check the pipe because a lot of water was coming out. So at the end, he wasn't able to contact us. He contacted Airbnb. Later, he went to a hotel, obviously disappointed. When we finally arrived home, I checked, I said, oh my God. So immediately we drove to the Airbnb, we checked what's going on. We contact Edgar, we contact Airbnb. We tried to fix it. It was a nightmare literally, because I tried to fix it. Mark tried to do it, to close the water, to do a lot of things. The management of the apartment wasn't answering. They didn't know where to close the water was. So I just went into the bathroom and started crying because I was feeling like overwhelmed. And Mark was there trying to help me too. So we couldn't do anything. We couldn't do much until Sunday, I think. On Monday, we managed to pay Edgar for his hotel. The money that he spent in his hotel, he went back to the Airbnb once that everything was fixed. He stayed the rest of the 2 months there. And later he went again for 3 months until he got an apartment there in Guadalajara, but that he decided to start by himself. But it was a nice experience too.
Yeah, it happened on Saturday. It was a Saturday, and it was November 2nd, which is Day of the Dead. Right?
Yes.
Nobody wanted to work that day, right? So it just happened that the pipe a guy took a drill and put a hole in the pipe, and this sucker water was just spitting out of there like it wasn't even fun. The whole apartment was like an inch deep in water. And I just kept trying to sweep it all out. It did no good because it just filled right back up as soon as I was, when I'm done with this room, the other room is full again. And again, Laura kept trying to contact the apartment association, and she didn't want anything to do with it. It was, again, Saturday and it's Day of the Dead. That's everybody celebrating. Nobody wants to come do anything. So yeah, it kind of stressed us out. Finally, we just threw our hands up and said, all right. We obviously contacted Edgar, told him, look, we're sorry about this. The cable guy he was not supposed to show up till Monday, but for some reason they showed up on Saturday. And we went ahead and reimbursed Edgar for his hotel room. And he just asked us, he says, you don't have to reimburse me, just can you give me an extra 3 days in the apartment for the Airbnb? I said, I'll give you a week. So we gave him an extra week for free. And he was cool with it. And Edgar was great. He was so understanding. Again, he said, this is the irony of life. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Because we thought when you showed up, you're going to be here 2 months. That's, we don't have to worry about coming and cleaning it up for the next guest for another 2 months. We're thinking we were home free for a little bit. Boy, were we wrong. But yeah, finally Sunday they were able to send somebody to fix it, and because the pipes were so old, he was having trouble
fixing it,
basically welding the new pipe in place, and it took him like 5 or 6 attempts to finally to get it to work. And even then, once he got it to work, something happened again. It started leaking again, and he had to come back Monday to do it again. But finally it got fixed, which is good. And but that was a learning experience. Just when you think you're home free, you're not. So.
But this way, when you think about all the things that you have lived, just when you decided to live in the United States to go through your experience in Mexico, like to enjoy all these opportunities, you really live the Mexican experience, my love. You really, because first way, you went there to teach English classes.
Mm-hmm.
First, you went there to get this certification as an English teacher. You went to teaching classes. You ended sleeping on the floor of an office. You went out because we need to tell them about this too. You went to these meetings with me with the possible clients. Then you went to the market to sell cleaning supplies. You were teaching in the market English classes. Then you studied in an Airbnb and live all this experience. So if you really want to live life, you really want to make your life meaningful, you know that you have to leave your comfort zone.
That's right.
In
That's
other
right.
ways.
It was again, all those things are part of the adventure, you know.
Can I tell them? Well, no, you
go ahead. No, go ahead. I was gonna say, when it comes to travel, I I like the idea of going and living somewhere and becoming part of a community more than just going there to visit. Staying in 3, 4 star hotels. No, I wanted to go live in the community just like everybody else. And to me, that was much more rewarding than just going to visit. So.
No, imagine this. He was. There are places when you go to in Guadalajara in Mexico, and I'm talking about all Mexico, no, not just Mexico City, all the country. And there are places where you can, for example, if you go to Cancun, to Puerto Vallarta, to Acapulco, Los Cabos, or Mexico City, you can find a lot of gringos. That is the way that a lot of Americans. I think that the best way to call them is Americans. But in this intercity, well, they did display these neighborhoods that we went to sell these cleaning supplies. You barely see an American. So Mark was the American selling cleaning supplies in the little market. So it was attractive. I think when he had to come back to the United States during COVID, I continued going to the little market, but I didn't sell anything at all. Well, I sold a couple of things, but not the same amount that we were selling when Mark was there. And I told him, my love, I think that you were the attraction of business because these ladies, just imagine that. What is the physiognomy of Mexican ladies? And when you go to out of the city, obviously we are kind of robust girls. We are different than the Americans. So these women were looking for Mark because he says that no, it's like, okay, I'm gonna respect that, but they were looking for him. But it's not just this experience that he had, because also when we had business, well, the English classes that were visiting clients, a lot of things happened. And he truly lived the experience as a Mexican.
For the markets, I was like the little monkey in the cage. Come see my monkey. Come see my gringo.
And it was profitable.
And yeah, I guess people wanted to see that. Oh, there's a real gringo over there. He doesn't even speak much Spanish.
No, we had some experiences that they're funny, and they were funny also by that time. When we opened the bank account for the business English classes, we went to the bank, to Santander. We have Santander there. So we went to the bank, and we were in front of the guy, the executive of the bank, telling us all the benefits, everything about the account we were about to open. So he was in front, Mark was here, I was here, and he was explaining everything, but suddenly he started like looking weird to the side that Mark was. And I was thinking, well, maybe he's because I thought everything, but what I was about to see. So it was kind of weird the way that this guy was looking to my husband. So he was, what's going on? So I looked to Mark, and Mark was on the chair, sleeping like, and this guy, that's the reason why we're looking at it. I was looking like, what? At what time he fall asleep? And I didn't notice that. It was kind of crazy, but it wasn't the only time. When we were visiting some of the clients, the idea that Mark went with me, because obviously he doesn't speak Spanish, and a lot of people, a lot of human resources, organizational development in Mexico, well, the ones who play these positions, these roles in Mexico, in these companies, they don't speak English. So we have to make the promotion of the classes in Spanish with a nice presentation and everything. But Mark doesn't, well, he speaks some Spanish, but not in a way, in a level to make a presentation. I don't feel ready to make a presentation in English. I don't feel so confident, so I understand this. So I was making the presentation, and the idea that for him going with me, it was because he's American, he looks like an American, and people were going to say, okay, they have American teachers, so she's not going to be teaching the classes. He's going to be teaching the class, so we want to have him teaching the classes because it's a way fact. No, you want someone that really speaks the language teaching you the language that you're that you're gonna pay for speaking. That you're gonna pay for getting the training to speak. Well, who had a couple business, a couple companies, and same thing. I was explaining all the program, and I was
She and unfortunately, I probably cost us some clients because I couldn't
yeah,
stay.
probably.
This is the problem with sleeping on the floor every night when you're
Yes.
50 years old, right? And again, I'm not proud of that, but I did the best I could. She would kick me under the table
Under
to
the
wake me
table.
back up. And again, lesson learned, right? I'll have to drink Monster Energy drink before meetings next time.
Okay. I know that you are gonna be very excited to know what happened later, but we're gonna let you next episode of this journey that Mark had when he decided to pursue these opportunities for having a better life. I'm gonna call it that like that.
Yeah.
A better life,
We
definitely.
joking. We
Yeah.
joking.
So thank you so much for connecting with us. Please follow us in Rumble, on X, on social media. You can find all of them here in the video. So thank you so much and have a nice day and enjoy. If you have opportunities, take them. I don't know when you want to see something else, Milo.
Hasta luego.
Ah, good. Have a nice day. Bye.